Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast, part of the National Bleav Network. And joining me to talk Game 4 of the Rockets Golden State series is our friend Rockets Analyst Bryson, a.k.a. Red Nation Blogger. Check out his YouTube channel. Find him on X at Red Nation Blogger. And boy, oh boy, Bryson, this series is exactly why I wanted no part of Golden State. It's all our worst nightmares living in our head right now.
I'm glad that they got Golden State. I'm going to reference an old episode that I did with my guy Durant in the Rockets community quite a few times in this podcast. But me and him said, and I even put it on my X page, like on my personal page, like I wanted the toughest assignment because I didn't want to be tricked and fooled into maybe a second round run if we got like a weak matchup in the first round, maybe even a conference finals if somebody gets hurt or whatever the case may be. I didn't want to be tricked into going into this offseason and thinking, oh, the Rockets are fine. They don't need to make any moves, X, Y, and Z. I am so glad that what's happening in this series in terms of the half-court offense being so glaring of a problem that you have to address it come this offseason. So a lot of people, you know, and I understand those people that didn't want the Warriors, they had their mentality. I'm glad that the Houston Rockets got the award, got the Warriors, because the problem is it couldn't be more glaring to me.
Maybe that's a good point. I just, for my fun meter, I wanted them to win a couple of more games in the playoffs. It would have been nice. I didn't want this season to end. It's been so fun overall.
For sure.
And, you know, it feels like for 4 years, we run in circles and keep coming back to one guy, one name. It's Jalen Green. And 3 or 4 games, he scored single digits in this series. I went to look back at the season, and he'd scored in single digits in just 11 of 82 games, which percentage-wise is not much at all. You know, it's, 70 out of 82 is, you know, it's not close to 75% scoring in single digits. So it's a big difference. And I'm just kind of back to square one, Bryson. He is not an alpha. He does not want to be the guy every night. If you pressure him on the dribble, he falls apart. That's another part of the equation. And those turnovers that he had perfectly represented who he is. The handle hasn't improved nearly enough, barely at all. So where do you go from here, Bryson? Are you ready to push the Jalen eject button? Because looking at the fan base, there's a lot of people out there that are.
I'm not ready to hit the eject button. On my last episode that I did literally last night, I'm not saying let's trade Jalen Green, let's jump off a cliff, let's jump out the window, let's crash out. I'm not saying any of that. I just think that we know now he is not a number one option. That's all we know. For a fact, we know he is not a number one option. You made a point and you said he doesn't want to be the guy. Listen, last night I was asking for more than 9 points. I don't know a team where the guy is asked to give 9 points. Just more than 9 points. So for me, my bar in this series especially is super, super low for Jalen Green. It's not high whatsoever. If he makes he went 1 for 3 from the free throw line, he finishes with 10 points, which is still not enough to win a game. He needed 12 if the Rockets wanted to like literally win a game. But if we can't ask Jalen Green to give us double-digit scoring, what are we doing? And the live ball turnovers, Rob, have been an issue all season long.
All career long.
But I mean, this year, I don't know, maybe all career long, and your memory may be right, you know, in that sense. For me, I've noticed it more this year than any other year, because not before Fred, Kevin Porter Jr. was dribbling the air out the ball. So it wasn't like Jalen had the ball. Now he's on the ball more, so now it's more glaring, I guess.
The problem with him not being the number one guy is, what is he if he's not the number one guy? Because starting next year, he's going to be making in the $30+ million range for a guy that shows up one night and doesn't show up the next night, and who you have basically no trust to do anything in a playoff situation, or when the pressure gets ramped up, the heat gets ramped up. That's the problem. And it's not just 1 year of 30-something million. It's 2, but he's got a team option. I mean, I'm sorry, a player option, which is, player option's way more the problem, because that's now you're stuck potentially with 3 more years of Jalen at that price. And if he just shows if he shows nothing next year, then where are you? Now you're really stuck with him, because nobody's going to take him off your hands. You're going to have to spend first-round picks to get rid of him.
Yeah, as I look at the contract right now, $33 million next year, 36 the next 2 seasons after that. I really don't think that that's crippling, nor do I think that it's hard to move. I'm not saying that teams are going to be knocking down the Rockets' door to take Jalen Green. But at the same time, he's only, 22, 23 years old. A lot of teams feel like they can fix a player, especially when they're that young, especially when they have shown durability. And for all the issues that we have with Jalen Green, and there are a lot, there is also a lot of promise on the other side. So I wouldn't really trip on the number, which is 30 million. Now, when you start getting the 45 to 50 plus range, it's a problem. But 33, 36 million, in my opinion, is not salary crippling, franchise altering, preventing you from taking the next level to be a championship, in my opinion.
We know the Jalen issue. I don't know if there's anything that I haven't said over the last 4 years with Jalen that I need to vary on, but let's go to the Rockets IQ. It's a low IQ team. In game 4, we had Jalen's low IQ turnovers, Jabari's low IQ turnover in the final 2 minutes, Tari's foul at the end of the third quarter on the inbounds to Butler that Ime was about to go out on the court and punch him in the face over. Tari, low IQ leader, so this is nothing new for him. But I want to focus on our veteran, the captain of low IQ, Dillon Brooks.
Yes.
And first, he kicks an injured dog, Jimmy Butler, and ignites him after he had a terrible first half, and he looked like an old man walking around, needed a cane. Then he puts the unnecessary hand on Butler's hip on the three-point shot in the final minute. You know you're going to get called for that. He didn't even push him. He didn't even do anything, but you know you're going to get the call for that. And how about putting 2 hands up in the air and trying to block the shot with both hands instead of using one hand to push him, or at least pretend like you're pushing him? And here's my thing, Bryson. Either Dillon needs to be on the bench next season in a much more limited role, or he needs to be off the team. His timing is, perfect as far as the first 2 years. You needed his training wheels, but the training wheels are no longer needed, and I'm ready to move away from the dumb stuff late in games that shows the rest of these guys it's okay to do dumb stuff.
I agree with you. I said again on my last pod, I said Tari Eason and Dillon Brooks go band for band with dumb fouling. Like they cannot help themselves. It was a play. I don't know if you remember in game 3, Kuminga gave up his dribble, had nowhere to go. He pump fakes. Tari just jumps, gives him a foul. Like, it's certain things where you don't really see like Amen Thompson fall for pump fakes. Give Jalen credit. Jalen doesn't really fall for a lot of pump fakes. He knows how to stay down. Tari and Dillon Brooks, if you pump fake it, they are going to jump and they are going to get a foul. I agree with you on Dillon Brooks. That was a bad foul. He simply had to put 2 hands up, and if Jimmy Butler makes the shot, you shake his hand. In terms of what you said on the other side about trading him, it would have to be for the right piece, but I do kind of agree with you. Well, I don't think it's a scenario where Dillon goes from one of the key components to this team, getting some of the most minutes on the team, being a closer, being a starter, everything that he has, the freedom to take the shots that he's taken, to now going back to kind of a role of what he played in Memphis. I don't think that there's a world where that happens. He does have a lot of bad fouls and a lot of dumb IQ plays, but it's tough. I would have to see the trade package.
We got to get to the point where you kick the training wheels and see what these other young guys are going to do. Now, they couldn't make a trade this offseason. We're going to talk a little bit about that at the end. But, one thing with Dillon is, like, when he's out there, he's taking shots that you want to see the other guys take shots, so you can see where they are going forward. And there's just been times where we don't know where they are because Dillon is out there. And, everybody talks about Dillon's defense, and I brought this up before. Dillon's defense is overrated because he doesn't get rebounds. He doesn't, do other things outside of trying to face guard a guy. And that's great. But, he's not some elite athlete. And one thing that they've absolutely proven in this series, Bryson, look, Golden State, they're not winning because they've got a bunch of great defenders at all positions. Udoka should be able to coach anybody to be a pretty good defender. I think if you give Udoka enough time, he should be able to do that. Where the Rockets need some help is offense and IQ. And Udoka doesn't seem to be able to help either one of those things. And it seems like you got to go get a guy that's going to be that guy and maybe take away a little bit of somebody that's not the best defender, is kind of overrated because he doesn't do the other stuff, but also he's hurting you with the IQ stuff. And you get rid of that and you send the message that like, hey, this is a new Rockets era. We're going to start doing smart things out on the court instead of like trying to kill ourselves.
I definitely agree with you. I would definitely like to see like more Aaron Holiday. I was kind of upset that Jalen kind of closed. He gave Jalen the opportunity to close. And obviously Jalen didn't do anything with that opportunity. With the low IQ stuff, Ime is not an offensive guy. And I want to save it for later because you said that we were going to talk about it later. But that's why they need a guy to come in that is just a half-court savant that can do what they need to do, because Ime can coach the hell out of defense. The Houston Rockets are going to rebound. They're going to defend. They're going to be tough. But offensively, this team has hit its ceiling, and that ceiling is made out of titanium. They're not bursting through it in this series, especially. So he just needs some help on that end, and that help is in regards to like a player. It's a player. It's definitely a player.
Golden State, look, defensively, they have Gary Payton and they got Draymond. That's fine. But they also are playing Steph and Pajemski and these guys that post and these guys that aren't great defensive players, and they still have a great defense. They prove that like you don't need an elite guy at every single position defensively. It's not necessary. And if Udoka thinks he's a defensive coach and that's his thing, then go out and coach some guys up that maybe aren't the best at that, but can help you on the offensive side. And I'm going to get more into Udoka. I want to get into the head of the snake and the issues with him in a second. But before we roll on, just a quick reminder that the NBA playoffs, hey, that's your best chance to score big. And whether you're riding with the Rockets or cheering your favorite underdog, every three-pointer and buzzer beater is an opportunity to win at MyBookie. Place your bets live as the action unfolds. And are you feeling confident? Lock in your winnings early with our quick cash out option. Never miss a chance to turn your basketball knowledge into real cash. And hey, are you new to MyBookie? Well, then sign up today with promo code MM50. Look for it in the description, MM50, and instantly boost your first deposit. If you deposit $50, MyBookie tosses in an extra $25. You deposit $100, get a $50 bonus. More action, more excitement, more chances to win during basketball's intense playoff season. Plus, when the games wrap up, keep the winning streak alive at MyBookie's casino with slots, blackjack, roulette, and more. The thrills never stop. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. All right, Bryson, either Udoka has that reality check you were just talking about and brings in an offensive guru next year, or nothing changes. And if fans think bringing in KD solves his ineptitude, they're fooling themselves. It's putting lipstick on a pig. And let me put it this way. If the offense doesn't look more creative, I'm willing to move on from Udoka next season at the end of the year. He's the Bickerstaff coaching starter set, and it's time to find the Kenny Atkinson if he doesn't fix this issue next year.
Wow, that is a take. I want to say, just to go back to the last segment, because I did a little bit miss what you were trying to ask or where you're trying to lead me. Coaches tend to fall on what their strength is. Ime tends to lean on defense, and when we had Mike D'Antoni, he leaned on offense, and we used to get frustrated with it. We used to be like, put in more defensive guys or whatever the case may be, and that was a flaw of Mike D'Antoni's. And defense never really gets criticized as much as offense, so Ime was going to get a lot of passes, I think, especially like by media and the community or whatever, but it is a problem.
But with Mike D'Antoni, D'Antoni, remember, he led with offense, but what happened? They went out and they got defenders.
Jeff Bizdelic. Yeah. And they had Jeff Bizdelic too.
But they got defensive players. They had Capella.
Yes.
They had, Ariza when he was a good defender. Yeah.
PJ
so
Tucker,
that's the difference.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. For the Kevin Durant point, I don't think that we are on the same page, only because we are in the Houston Rockets are in every single game with the Golden State Warriors. If they just had somebody that can give them consistent points with the defense and how they play, it's a championship team to me. This team won 50 games without an elite half-court offense. I knew that this was going to be a problem come postseason. And I just think that depending on what you give up in a trade scenario, if you can get Kevin Durant here for the right price, Ime Udoka, you focus on what you're great at, and Kevin Durant in the half court can just be that mercenary sniper that can play in the mid-range, shoot the three, and be that go-to guy that Houston needs. Maybe you don't see it that way and you want to see more diversity in the offense. And I also really did want Kenny Atkinson here as a coach. It was either him or Ime Udoka. I never thought we would get Ime Udoka. I never thought that was even realistic, to be honest. But I did want Kenny Atkinson, but man, that's tough to say that you don't think that it will work with Kevin Durant. That's fun. That's interesting.
Yeah, the thing with Kevin Durant, and this is my point with Udoka, is so now you got Kevin Durant. Well, what the Rockets would do, because we've seen what they do, give the ball to Durant and everybody stands around and there's no ball movement and guys aren't in the right place and Kevin Durant's double teamed and they're like, we're not letting Kevin Durant beat us. And we don't know what to do from there. Like, what do we do? Because that's what's happening with Jalen a lot of times. He gets double teamed, so they throw it up. He's double teamed like back, near half court, and they throw it up, and they have a 4-on-3, and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. They would screw up Kevin Durant. That's Udoka. You could do that for a round with Kevin Durant. Maybe you win a round. You're not going through 16 games in the whole playoffs with just like Kevin Durant save us every single game because we don't know what to do.
I think that it's vastly different when you talk about Jalen getting double teamed and Kevin Durant getting double teamed. I also believe, again, this is all dependent upon what the Houston Rockets give up in the trade. In my mind, with what I'm envisioning, I still see a lot of the core here. Maybe not like one, maybe two players, but in my mind, I see a lot of the core, and I truly believe that with Kevin Durant, it's a world of difference. You're talking about a different class of athlete. You would still have Sengun in this scenario. Sengun is still your low post threat. You would still have Amen Thompson, who can play on the wing and is getting naturally better as a cutter, as a point guard, on-ball creator, everything like that. He will get better and make a natural progression as he goes into year 3. Again, in this scenario, Reed Shepherd is still here. That's a shooter. That's a sniper. You feel what I'm saying? So I think it would work. I think it could work. I don't think it'll be as beautiful offensively as maybe you would like it to be, but I think that it could work. With the way that this team defends, it could work.
It seems obvious the salary they'd want to send out would be Fred VanVleet. But what I've said is they have no interest in Fred VanVleet. Phoenix wants to keep winning. What is a Fred VanVleet, Beal, Booker team? It's a bunch of, small guys out there. That's not going to help make them better. And what third team wants the Fred VanVleet contract? And because you need to give up picks to get somebody to take the VanVleet contract if you're getting anything of value that Phoenix needs back as far as bigs, because they need bigs with Booker. And that's the issue. They need bigs that can play defense. I'm like, I don't know if I really see it happening, because you don't want to give up a whole lot, because if you're lucky, it's KD for a year or two, because then there's a log jam. Because if you sign KD for more than a year or two, first of all, he's 37 years old to start with. He could drop off a cliff next year or drop off a cliff the year after, and then you're totally screwed. But the other part about it is, and I've said this over and over again, is like, you can't do more than 2 years if you're keeping Jalen and Sengun and Amen, because once that happens, you can't pay Kevin Durant, you're going to pay Ahmed Thompson the full short max. You've got the Sengun contract. You got the Jalen contract. What about Jabari? All that sort of stuff. It's like at some point, it just doesn't make sense to have him for more than 2. And he's going to be, at that point, he's 39. And we can't pretend like LeBron is the norm. We just can't.
I understand everything that you just told me. Everything that you just told me makes a lot of sense. But the value in Fred VanVleet's contract next year is that it is expiring. It's an expiring $44 million contract. You eat that for 1 year. We see teams eat contracts that are 1-year contracts, and then that next season, you have $44 million coming off your cap. You have all of that cap space that you have to build around Devin Booker. And as you said, Phoenix isn't trying to go off into the sunset and rebuild. They're trying to still kind of remain competitive. Fred VanVleet, I'm not saying he's the greatest point guard in the world. He isn't, but he can help you remain competitive alongside Devin Booker. He can give you solid point guard play. We've seen it in Houston. He's not going to be the most efficient, but he can win games. And I think that that's a nice stopgap year for Fred. And then when his money comes off the books, in this scenario, Phoenix gets Cam Whitmore. Like, that's another young stud. And maybe I would look at potentially trading involving Tari Eason. At first, I thought he was untouchable. He was untouchable, but he hasn't been the same since he came back from a leg injury. And I hope people don't get mad at me for saying that, but it's the truth. So I think that it could work with Phoenix. And then you give them their picks back. The owner can say what he wants. In the offseason, when they see no avenue of getting better, and Kevin Durant says, I want to go to Houston, I think it can get done. And it's going to be a 2-year deal, $60 million, player option the last year, and then he's going at 39, 40 years old. I truly believe that. I think that can happen.
I want to get back to the series for just a second because I want to talk about Udoka. And I think a lot of fans might remember. You might remember that Udoka told the media before Game 4 a change in the starting lineup wasn't necessary because they were getting off to good starts. Well, no, not so fast. The ship hit an iceberg in Game 4, but it's like he wasn't understanding the big picture. Jabari needed more minutes. He can't get more minutes if he's coming off the bench. The Warriors neutered Amen offensively by eliminating the dunker spot points and packing the paint. But they also eliminate his special skill defensively because they spread the floor so much he can't use his ability to help off ball with steals and blocks. They're freaking out so much on the perimeter, Bryson, that Amen can't wreak havoc in the way that he normally does. So they sort of have neutered Amen Thompson.
I don't think it has to be anything about Jabari starting. I mean, if you want Jabari to start, that's your opinion. I'm not mad at it. Maybe just raise his minutes up. Cut into Dillon Brooks' minutes. Cut into Tari Eason's minutes. Cut into Jalen Green's minutes. You can do a lot of different things to get Jabari Smith more time. In Game 3, it was a mistake not to put Jabari Smith Jr. back into that game. Game 4, Amen Thompson was actually being productive. He had 17 points. He was actually being impactful, and it was probably his best defensive game of the series for Amen Thompson. Now, the first 3, I'll give you, he was not Amen Thompson. He was not his normal self. But for me, Jabari Smith should be encouraged. He should not only should he play, he should be encouraged to hunt his shot at the nail more. That shot that he pulls up when he hits that mid-range jumper from the nail, it's almost automatic. I don't want him thinking. I don't want him trying to create, trying to dribble and pass. 1-2 dribble, pull up. Jabari has been one of the most consistent jump shooters, and he only had 6 points last night because Houston consistently cannot find him and give him the ball in the spots when he needs them. But we find Dillon Brooks, but we find Jalen Green. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a problem. It is a problem.
And I've talked about it, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it on your show. Like they can't just not have Jabari shoot shots and set him up for stuff. It can't just be he's like a bailout option, and that's also a Udoka issue because he's just not using him the way he should. Now Sengun, if there's one thing that I've learned about Sengun this season, he's got to work on his mental side. Free throw shooting is part of it, but it's not just that. He's not looked confident shooting easy gimmies around the basket, and he's hesitant on open 12 to 16 footers. This is a Framber Valdez situation. If you're an Astro fan, you know what I'm talking about. He needs a good sports psychologist. And if he's already got one, Bryson, then get another one because he's a mess.
Yeah. Sengun, it's crazy because his first 2 games, he was solid. He was really good to me, his first 2 games of this series.
Except the free throw shooting.
Except the free throw shooting, correct. And then game 3, he was a dud. You know, he really didn't provide much. Game 4, he was a dud in the first half and really until Draymond got in foul trouble. And then he had that 17-point third quarter, which, I mean, I give him credit for it. He balled out. You play who's on the court. But if you're not performing when Draymond Green is on the floor, I'm not going to really wave the pom-poms for a 30-point game. I needed that 30 against Draymond. I needed when Draymond was on the floor, I needed you to make the floaters and make the mid-range and make your free throws, like you said. So mentally, I'm not really there yet with Sengun in terms of questioning his mentality. I just think personally, he needs to get better. Maybe you see it as that's being a mental block. I just see it as get in the lab, work on your touch, work on your jump shot, because you can't, guys like Draymond, who you can't back down, get a face-up game and pull up right in his face. Now you've neutralized him. Now that opens up your ability to put the ball on the floor and finish. That's just how I see it.
The reason I see it as a mental thing is because his free throw shooting has gotten worse this year. His basket around the basket game's gotten worse. I mean, those 2 things, there's no question they're worse. And he just, a lot of times it's a 2-footer or a 3-footer that he's, he pulls back on, or he's short on, or, it's in his head. I can tell it's in his head. The free throws, you can tell sometimes it's totally in his head. Next year's year 5 for him. The new contract kicks in. We can't keep seeing the hesitancy in his shot, and the same hesitancy on those kick out passes in the post, where I feel like, he just doesn't know where to go. He's not 2 steps out of the defense like he should be. And, he's young, but we're year 5 next year. The thing I'll say about him, though, that I won't say about Jalen, I listened to Sengun talk about his game and post games, and here's somebody who understands what's not working, what he needs to get better at, and is desperate to try to fix it. I don't know if I see that with Jalen.
I don't want to say that because I truly don't know what's behind the curtain. I don't know how hard Jalen works. I don't know how bad he wants it. I really don't. So I don't want to sit here and, go after any of that work ethic stuff. I just know that I need you to be better this series. I've seen you make the improvement with the playmaking. I've seen it. Maybe you haven't at the level that you want to see it for him to be in year 4, but I have seen him improve. The turnovers piss me off, but I've seen it. You know what I mean? I've seen the improvement. I've seen him show that he can be a little consistent. The Warriors were the worst possible matchup for him. So maybe this is ball of paper up and throw it out, but I still have to hold him accountable because the play is just not there. But like I said, I don't want to question the man's work ethic or how much he wanted, because I think Ime, you would see it with Ime's, the way he coached, if he thought that Jalen didn't want it. And I think Ime is good at sniffing that type of stuff out. There
are times where I just feel like Jalen is just not focused. And I guess that's what I consider the want it, because the turnovers, he's not focused. And I mean,
that's not focused. Yes.
Like, look at the play in last night's game. Look at the play in game 4, where he comes back past half court, and there's Buddy Hield in front of him, and he's doing a between the legs dribble after he's had a 1 turnover or 2. I forget what he had at that point, but he does a between the legs dribble, and Buddy Hield just like pokes it away, and we're going the other way, and it's an easy basket. There was like a lack of, I keep saying, seriousness. There's just, it doesn't feel like he feels like this is urgent. And also, too many times with Jalen, I just wonder, do you watch basketball? Have you followed the game? Do you see what is going on? Because there are times and throughout his career where I just thought, yeah, he really doesn't watch other guys and other stars and see what they do compared to what he does. He comes up the floor and he just sits there at half court, and it's almost like the other defender could just come up to him instead of let me get up closer before I stop my dribble and start looking around. And you looked at Anthony Edwards, who, yeah, his dribble's a little better than Jalen, no question about it, but not that much better. But Anthony Edwards, there's two guys in front of Anthony Edwards in the Lakers game multiple times. They're meeting him at half court. Two guys. They're like, we're not letting you do anything. And Anthony Edwards just looks at the two guys that come up to him, and they're like to his left and right. And he goes, okay, well, if you guys are going to do that, I'm just going to dribble to the side and go around you. And he did that a couple different times. He just went around two guys. Jalen can't get around one guy. One guy.
Yeah, man, it's a problem. It is a problem. I will say one thing that I've noticed about the Golden State Warriors this series is Drake. When Jalen even thinks about isolating, Draymond completely ignores this man. They put it's three guys in the paint. So in the rare instance that Jalen can actually blow by his man, he's not going to get far. But no excuses. He has to be better. You're 100% right. Maybe he doesn't watch a lot of other guys. That's actually a really good point that you just made that I didn't even think about. I don't know, man. It's tough on Jalen Green right now. I'm really trying not to be prisoner of the moment. I'm trying to be even keel with it, but I kind of saw this coming, especially facing Golden State in the first round. He's simply not that guy versus this team. And Robert, I just want to say the last thing on Jalen, I was kind of happy that they didn't get Memphis, because I felt like if the Rockets got Memphis, Jalen was going to show out and it was going to trick people into believing that he is the true number one option of this team, and there needs to be no major change. And maybe you don't want a major change for Kevin Durant, but I do. But go ahead.
Yeah, Jalen, I'll say this. If you go into the paint and there's two guys waiting for you in the paint, somebody's open. And I'm waiting for 4 years now for Jalen to consistently find who the guy is that's open. And even if the guy is not a great shooter, which we know a lot of the Rockets aren't, I just need you to make the right play. And he's yet to figure out how to make the right play on a consistent basis.
I agree 100%.
For our listeners, we want to hear your takes. Let me know in the YouTube comments. For you Texans fans, look for my show just out with an Iowa State insider on our two new receivers and a USC insider on cornerback Jalen Smith and running back Woody Marks. Go check that out. You can support us and get updates on every show that drops by subscribing on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up and listen while you're out and about with your favorite podcast app. All right, one last thing, Bryson. Giannis, if he becomes available, would you give up this package? Sengun, the Suns picks, the Brooklyn swap, and the Mavs swap? And if so, how is that not the best offer the Bucks would get? How is it not? I mean, you throw in Cam or Reed Shepherd, whatever, but you don't have to give up. To me, you don't have to give up Jabari and Tari and this and that. Like you give up Sengun, because I don't think Sengun is maybe a good fit with Giannis. And I'm like, hey, like if we got Giannis with the rest of that core, let's see what you got there. And like, there's no other team that's got a Sengun to give up in a package, and there's no other team that's got first round picks that actually might be valuable instead of their own first round picks. That's what most teams have, is their own first round picks.
Wow. So that's 5 first round picks, man. I don't know. And I mean, it's 5 quality first round picks, because they have Dallas's 29, correct?
Yeah, it's a swap. It's a swap with Dallas, and they have a swap with Brooklyn in 27.
Correct. I don't know about that. I would have to really think. It sounds good, because in this case, the big collateral is Alperen Sengun and maybe like another player or two that won't be like detrimental to, like you said, Tari, Amin, Jabari, Jalen, et cetera, so on and so forth. But it's a lot of draft capital. I mean, a lot of draft capital.
It's Giannis, top 3 player.
It's Giannis. It is Giannis. But Giannis has had some injury issues. He missed last postseason. I think in 23, he missed a portion of that series versus Miami. I mean, this year he's dealt with some stuff. Every offseason, he seems to go get his knee cleaned up, and then he plays an international play for Greece. Now, some guys' bodies can just handle the wear and tear better, but What happens if something happens to Giannis? He has no jump shot. His game is predicated upon athleticism and strength. I would have to think about that one. I would. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's kind of why I prefer Kevin Durant. I feel like the price would be much cheaper. Much, much cheaper. And I know you think that he doesn't fit with the timeline, but I feel like if I know KD is older than Giannis, but Giannis is 30, so I don't think he fits with the timeline like that either. These guys are 22, 23 years old.
Well, no, there's a big difference between 30, 31, where Giannis is,
for sure,
and Kevin Durant. The other thing, like if you want to talk injuries, like KD's got he's got a laundry list. He's got a CVS receipt of injuries. And look, Giannis, the other teams they're gonna show up. There's gonna be a lot to offer. Nico Harrison, I'm sorry, Bryson, is not GMing the Milwaukee Bucks. He's not the best GM, but this isn't Nico. We're not just giving him, hey, you want our gimpy Anthony Davis and can you give us a first round pick too, or a couple of picks maybe back with the no, that's not happening. So,
but that's exactly why I'm saying that. That's exactly why I'm saying I know that the GM isn't going to take scraps. That's exactly why I'm saying with Giannis, it's like I feel like it would be more than that. I feel like the Bucks might want more. They would probably prefer the Rockets' proven talent over picks. Maybe. And
they have no picks going forward. That's the problem. So
that's true.
They're desperate to reload. They need some young guys, and they need some, and look, nobody's going to give them all their current talent because you're trading for Giannis. You want to win now.
You want to win. Wow. Yes.
That's the way these trades work.
That's true. But to your Kevin Durant point, I am perfectly fine with Kevin Durant having a 62 game played season. I am perfectly fine. The season before that, last year, he played 75 games. I'm perfectly fine with Kevin Durant getting an ankle sprain, missing 9 games, having a knee soreness, missing 8 games. I need you for the postseason. Houston is, in my opinion, we are at the level now in the regular season. We are going to be in it. We could bring the same team back next year. We will be in the mix. We need a player for the postseason. We need a player that can match Shea, that can match Steph, that can match the other guys in the Western Conference. And if it comes at a cheaper price tag in which you don't have to give up all of Phoenix's picks, a Brooklyn swap, and a Dallas swap, plus an all-star, I'm much more comfortable doing that than I am with Giannis. Although I would love Giannis. It's a lot. It's really, really a lot, Rob. For me, it's a lot.
I think the other teams that are going to go after him, there's going to be a bidding war. It's not going to be like the Mavericks. And, I also feel that if Giannis gets traded, he's going to want to go somewhere where you've got people ready to win with him. And the Rockets,
I will make the trade to keep him away from San Antonio. Them not to cut you off. If I had got wind of San Antonio, I would trade. I don't want them to get him.
And what is San Antonio? They got, they got some Hawks picks, I think, but that's it. I mean, we've got picks of teams that are in deep trouble right now. And I know it looks like a lot. It's 5 picks, but the Knicks just gave up 5 picks for Mikal Bridges. Rudy Gobert took 5. I mean, that is the going rate. Donovan Mitchell took a bunch of, this is we're not getting Donovan Mitchell. We're not getting Rudy Gobert. We're not getting Mikal Bridges. We would be getting a guy that is a bona fide top 3. Everybody would be talking about him for MVP in any other year that SGA and Jokic weren't putting up historic seasons. What if Milwaukee said, I'm sorry, Bryson, it's either that deal or no dice. I don't think you're going to go, well, I don't think I want to do it. I'm too scared to give up the Brooklyn swap
first. I would call Phoenix first. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying I wouldn't do the deal. I'm not saying Robert is not right as my GM in my ear or the assistant GM saying, hey, Bryson, do this, do this. If Robert was telling me that, I say, okay, Robert, just hold on. Let me call James Jones at Phoenix real quick, Matt Ishbia. Let me see what I'm going to give them the deal that I want to give them. And if they say no or they poo-poo on it, I'll call the Bucks back. That
play, the one with Giannis, of all the stuff that's realistic in this offseason, is the one that would have me most excited. You win with the Giannis's. You win with the Jokic's. You win.
Who would be a center? Who would be the center for the Rockets in that scenario?
To me, Steven Adams, you just don't take him out of the game. He plays 48 minutes a game.
Okay.
Steven Adams, like the heads up on Udoka is, thank you for finally giving him more than 20 minutes. You played him a grand total of 26. The guy looks like Oklahoma City Steven Adams. Why can't you play him 30 minutes a game? I mean, plus 16. He's plus every single time he's in the game. And I also hear, well, you can't play him all these minutes with Sengun. Why not? They're not killing us on the offensive end with the Steven Adams lineup. And number two, if you don't want to play him with Sengun, Steven Adams can be in the game by himself without Sengun. That's fine too, because guess what? He's affecting winning more than Sengun is affecting winning. Bottom line, look at the plus minus every single night. Steven Adams is plus. He is a winner. He makes winning plays. He changes stuff, and the casuals don't get it. But like you know it if you're a hoops guy.
Hey man, Robert, you sold me. Call it in. Call the Bucks, man. You sold me, bro. You sold me. You sold me.
Yeah, he's better maybe than or definitely better right now than Brook Lopez, and he's impacting winning more than Brook Lopez. So and you can figure it out. Like I'm confident Udoka can figure it out without the prototypical center, and you can also kind of find those type of guys too. I mean, I think they're out there and available more so than some other positions right now. The value isn't as sky high, but. Anyway, he's at Red Nation Blogger on X. Just any final thoughts, Bryson, on the series or where we're going with the Rockets down the line?
Rockets in 7. Thoughts on the series? Play more Steven Adams. Like my guy Rob said, he's smart. Listen to him. More Jabari Smith, less Jalen Green. That's all I got.
Yeah, come on, Jalen. Let's get it going. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for doing this. Want to catch up with you again pretty soon. So
of course.
Keep your ears out for me.
Of course, man. All the time, anytime, man. Thank you for having me.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.